So there is no time for introduction because we only have half an hour. But what I can tell you, I like Java. I still like Java. I do Java a lot. Actually, all I'm doing at the backend is Java. I never used a different language except at the very beginning C and C++, but not on the server side, just for fun. And then Java happened, Oak, and then JDK 1.0. And why I still enjoy Java, maybe because I focused on the standards early. And the standards meant, what standards actually mean. So I don't know whether you remember, at the beginning of Java, there are lots of application servers. And they were proprietary. Proprietary meant they were completely different. So we had, I would say, at least 30 different application servers. So before BEA, there was a Tenga, there was a Netscape application server, there was Persistence Power Tier, there was Redstone, Gemstone, Tidestone, so lots of stones. Then JBoss came later. But my problem was I really like Java, but for me it was no way to learn all the application servers at once. And then first what happened, Servlet happened. And then afterwards, I would say in roughly 3 years, so first was servlets, then as I remember correctly, JMS happened, Java Message Service, then JNDI and Java Naming and Directory Interface, which helped me back then to talk to Novell servers, NDS, Novell Directory Service, then JMS, EJBs, I think, and then after EJBs, we got J2E. And if I saw J2E, for me, it was like, it was a hope, a new hope, because the idea was I learned J2E once and then never have to migrate, or at least I don't have to learn, 30 different, completely different and crazy runtimes or application servers. So this was the idea, and it was actually true. So I spent at the beginning of server side a lot of time with J2E. But I only learned what I really had to about, JBoss, then WebLogic, then Payara Server, OpenLiberty, and now even Quarkus right now. It's still, is very similar to the old J2E days. And this is very good because I ignored all the frameworks which were similar to J2E, and I focused on the more exciting stuff. So this was maybe and this is why I really enjoyed, my developer life. And similar things happened to the web. So I completely ignored JavaScript at the beginning because it was, crazy language for a Java developer. And since 2015, JavaScript became reasonable. It actually looks like Java. And since then, I just focus on standards. So this is what the talk is about. Okay, so if you like, maybe you will like the podcasts. So with different guests. So I invite, people I know from conferences. So I think in a few days, I will publish a episode about GraalVM with, for instance. And from time to time, actually, I have not a lot of time for trainings, but at least I would say once, twice a year, I offer online workshops, Airhacks Live. Yeah, and blog is my notepad, and this is basically it. Oh, and on the next week, there are workshops. If you like, there's still a few seats. So if you like to attend, you can. There are people from all over the world. And this time we will actually look at the, serverless Java in the cloud, or how to save money with Java in the cloud. So now about Java standards. So I would say microprofile became more or less standard, or at least it is very similar, if not the same as Jakarta-E. So if you take a look, at the base layer here, it actually shares the common, I would say, boring APIs with J2E, Java-E, or Jakarta-E. And then it provides some innovation on top of that. And this innovation is not like, innovation in the ivory tower. Rather than the innovation comes from CNCF, Cloud Native, how is it called? Cloud Native Foundation, exactly. And this is actually one of the reasons why microprofile moves faster than the Jakarta E because they have to. If metrics are changing, and metrics are interestingly changing constantly in CNCF. So there was is open metrics, open telemetry, open census, and whatever. So it changes constantly. So a little bit more stable are fault tolerance because there are common established patterns like bulkheads or whatever. But even fault tolerance is interesting, right? A few years ago, I remember a Java user group in Hamburg. Everyone asked me why I'm not using hystrix during my talks. And my answer is because we don't need really hystrix, and hystrix comes from Netflix, and I don't like to learn it because the added value is just minimal. And so the response from the audience was, yeah, but it comes from Netflix, so it should be right. And you know what happened? Hystrix just disappeared. So Netflix discontinued hystrix. Now, I think one of the runtimes, it was either OpenLiberty or Quarkus, also used hystrix behind the scenes to implement fault tolerance. But I don't care as a developer what they're actually using because I've only focused on the API. So, and I mean, hystrix died, and maybe they're using Resilience4j or SmallRye. And by the way, SmallRye is an interesting project. So, SmallRye.io is like the core of microprofile implemented and used by different servers, or at least Quarkus, Whitefire, and OpenLiberty, using, I would say, everything from SmallRye. The other servers just pick whatever they like. So this was the fault tolerance. What is fault tolerance? Bulkheads is the most important pattern in my projects. At least timeout. Timeout is already helpful. Fallback and yeah. And interesting, they play well together. So if something happens with the fault tolerance, it gets reported to metrics. JSON Web Token, just security. You get the token, and the token gets mapped to groups and principles. Health. Why it's yellow? Because it was changed in 4.1 in comparison to 4.0. But health is liveness and readiness probes. You need it everywhere on Kubernetes and also other orchestrators. For instance, I use ACI, Azure Container Instances, and Fargate, and soon how it's called, Azure App Containers, I think. And all such orchestrators need a health check. And config, this is injectable configuration. REST client is like, injecting JAX-RS endpoints. OpenAPI was Swagger, which also great because prior to microprofile, you had, add the Swagger library. As I remember, in one point of time, you had also import the entire Scala library, which took, 50 megs just to have your annotations. And right now, if you're using OpenAPI, there is no dependencies because all the implementation ships with the application server or the runtime. And open tracing, I would say this is one of the easiest APIs to use because it ships with one single annotation called traced, but it's the most useful one because what you get is distributed tracing. So what it means is, just a hint, if you learn microprofile, you will immediately understand Quarkus, Helidon, parts of Micronaut. Then what else? OpenLiberty, Whitefly, Tommy, old WebLogic, old WebSphere. So you are the king of the runtimes, right? And for me, it's more appealing to learn this and know multiple runtimes than learning each of the runtimes. So how it looks like in practice. So I mean, this is the API. And so what I would like to do is to go to JRush, and what and then just go to create not kubeconfig. What I like to do is to create Quarkus. This is what I wanted to do. And the group ID, now call it airhacks, and the artifact ID is JRush MP for microprofile. And now, yes, I would like to have some code. And JRush, another JRush in the JRush, and open with the editor, which is Visual Studio Code. It's an editor I use for everything right now. So, and this is Quarkus. It ships with dependency injection JAX-RS, but not microprofile. So what I usually do, I add all the microprofile dependencies. What I did right now, I added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dependencies. So now it's a fully loaded microprofile server comparable to Whitefly. I only have to format the code a bit. Where is it here? Always. So, and then if I'm here, I can just say compile Quarkus dev. And this will compile the server and run the application. So it started and in 0.9 seconds because it was development mode. But if I will just package that and just forget the tests. I forgot to delete the tests. Java minus jar target. I think it is Quarkus app and then something like run. So it starts in 0.4 seconds, so roughly 0.4 seconds, but it is completely loaded application server almost, or runtime, with all the standard APIs I told you about. So what it means right now, I could actually go here to my resource and say, okay, nice. So this should be metered, and I'm using, I get the performance of this method. And I can also say this should be, we should retry this method several times. Now default is 3 until it succeeds. And I'm just using annotations which are standardized, and behind the scenes Quarkus uses whatever Quarkus uses. So Smorai and other servers would use whatever they are using. And I could say, okay, what I'm also interested in, to say add inject and add config property, also from microprofile, as you can see. And then I have to import this one. Yeah. And then say the name is message and just default value. Default value is hello JRush. JRush. And this is a string with message. Okay. Now, instead of that, I could just add this message. But the point is actually, also I'm using cutting edge runtime. The code looks like, old JBoss code. So it could be, 5 to 10 years old, 10 maybe not, almost 10 years old, and it will be exactly the same because I learned, the API several years ago. I don't have to relearn to use the newest runtimes. Okay, and actually, with a little bit of luck, it should actually work. Localhost 8080 slash, what was it? Hello. And I get hello rest easy. Why? I can tell you why. Because I started Quarkus, not from development mode. So I'll do it again. Maven compile Quarkus dev. Dev. I have to dev. Now it should work correctly. And now it should be, hello JRush, and let's say hello JRush night. Then I should get night back. And because I know it's standard on Quarkus, it's a little bit almost, I have to add the queue. I can say, give me your metrics, and I get the metrics. Give me your application metrics, and I get the application metrics back. And yeah, this was, a brief introduction to microprofile. By the way, all the dependencies, what I did, I added the dependencies to a gist. So I prepare that. I show you this is on my GitHub account, and this is maybe here. So if you go to Adambin, Quarkus, microprofile extensions, if you add all these extensions, you get full microprofile support. This is also on my recent blog. And this is how 90% of my projects look today. So this was Quarkus. And by the way, that's not all. So what you can also do with Quarkus, so I can show you just this. So this is my standard microprofile API. So we have no time for that. So let's take us. We are half of time. But what I could do here. So first, Maven clean package again, and what you see here in target, Maven package. Yeah, you see the Quarkus. Target Quarkus, and then Bootstrap. I got a compiler error. Wait a sec. So I will just delete that and delete that. So what it says is build failure. Not compiler failure. Compiler failure is German. Compiler error. Rather than the tests are failing because I changed that. So, and how to fix it for source test Java. Okay, now I just would like to compile Quarkus once again here with package and to show you the output. So, and Quarkus does is it creates a still failing. Why not? You know, this is one of those days where I have to clean it. So now it should work. There are still, the tests were not clean. So, and now, as you can see, I have Quarkus app, and in the app there is a Quarkus and there is a Quarkus run, right? So, but what I could do is I could actually add a different extension, and this extension is also and what I'm talking about is now it is this project, Quarkus Lambda CDK plane. So what I could do just by adding a single extension, what I can do, I can show you this right now. It's in the POM. This is the template, and the extension is Quarkus Amazon Lambda REST. So to save time, I will just copy this. And look what happens. So so if I will add the extension here and rebuild the project, so watch the folder here, Maven clean package. So this disappears. And what I get instead, I get SAM with what is SAM? It's this serverless application model from AWS. And what Quarkus did, I have still identical API, but I can ship now my microprofile app as a AWS Lambda in serverless mode without changing the code. So, and I would say this is actually a great example how you can focus on standard APIs and use the newest runtimes. So there's no time to actually deploy it, but I did it recently. So if you go to my YouTube channel, so there are multiple sessions. I did it live. There was performance impression. So what I did, I shipped microprofile Quarkus application as a Lambda and measured the cold start and subsequent calls. If you like, watch this video. So there are the recent screencasts on YouTube. Now, okay, this was about Java. So what I do a lot, I use in my project still Jakarta E. And if you take a look at the specifications, so the specifications in Jakarta E, they have some commonalities with microprofile. And Quarkus supports, I would say, 100% or 99% of microprofile, and I would say maybe 50% of Jakarta E, like servlets, WebSockets, bin validation, Jakarta annotations. There's a proprietary extension for JSF, JPA with Hibernate. So a lots of Java E stuff, but not everything. Okay, so this was my backend story, and now about the front end. So what's the story with the front end? And for that, let's proceed. The web. So very similar. So, but there's no microprofile obviously in the web. What you see right now is a set of web APIs which are available in, I would say, every browser. And as you probably know, there's only Chrome, Safari, and Safari and Chrome are somehow related. They have the same ancestors, and Firefox, but because the Microsoft Edge is actually Chromium or Chrome. And so this web APIs, the same idea. If I would just learn the APIs and focus on the APIs, I know the JavaScript frameworks are coming and going, but these APIs remain the same. And so what in my Firefox here, I show you something. So this was the YouTube. this is actually nice. This is called devdocs, devdocs.io. And I'm using this for work. So what I can do is I can add third-party APIs in the browser, and I can just, search for, let's say, fetch. And what I will find is the fetch API, which is a standard and available in all browsers. So I don't have to, to load a different library. Why not to load different library? The same reason as in Java. I don't like, to refactor the entire applications only because, the library disappeared. Okay, now the question is what I am doing then in the web. And I can show you this. So actually, what I'm using all the time, I'm using a BCE pattern, stands for Boundary Control Entity. And this is based on plain JavaScript and lit HTML, but it looks like React, class-based React. And I would like to show you how it looks like. And actually, some large projects in the last 2 years were created without any frameworks. So I would like to show you this. Set up web BCE project, exactly. And the name of the project, I would like to call it JRush Web. And here we have it. Even Chrome started. So this is a small application, very simple one. And with routing involved, and I can add some bookmarks. So it's bookmarks management app, and here are the bookmarks. So I can go here back and forth. Okay, so now what's inside? So this is what I will show you a little bit of the code. So what I'm using here, actually only these are the libraries which I use, external libraries. I'm using Vaadin router, which is fully optional. This is a web component from Vaadin. And I'm using lit HTML. What is a lit HTML? It's a function from Google, which allows me to have DOM diffing, a little bit more security, and React-like syntax. And this is the only dependency I have. Everything else is standard ES6. How this look like? It looks like this. So if I go to bookmarks, this is my component, standard JavaScript with imports. And what I say here is custom elements define a web components, B bookmarks, and I pass the component. So this B preview and B add are different components here, preview and add. So it really looks like React. Now, this is the boundary package, and in the control package, what happens here? I have a CRUD control, and what it does is, so this application actually, I got lots of questions, how my more sophisticated projects look like, and this is such an example. It is a little bit exaggerated for a conference session, but if you use it in a more complex project, it makes more sense. So what happens behind the scenes? Redux is used. So on every change here, you see all methods are actually void, or functions are void. So if someone pushes the button, what happens? Events is created. Event is passed to the Redux store. Redux store fires an event. All components are subscribed. They receive the event, update the view, and something happens behind the scenes. So this is like unidirectional data flow. And the nice story is in real world that the components don't know each other. The components means the visual components. So it is very scalable design, and is based on the so-called flux pattern, and it comes from Facebook. So this is the I would say my web front-end story. And the nice part is lit HTML recently came out, so I just updated the library without any changes. And if you learn web standards, you will never have to migrate. Actually, the marquee tag is still working. I think Blink is no more working, but marquee should work. And I learned, marquee at the beginning of Java. So let's see, actually, where is it? Let's go here and say marquee. Good night. This is the web 4.0 already. So where is my browser here? You see, good night. So this was like one of the first tags, which was impressive back then. Right now, no one uses the marquee anymore, but you don't have to migrate. It still works. 20 years later, it's still there. And this design, just comprising web standards and web frameworks, will still work in 10 years. So what it means is, if you focus a little bit more on standards, or what is standard? Standard is something which is implemented by multiple runtimes. Then you get more vacations. You don't have to relearn the crazy stuff. And the last anecdote I have is, I was asked, it was 10 years ago, to introduce a new architecture. It was the beginning of Java 5, and so we did it. I used I try. It was back then WebSphere, the old big WebSphere, and so we threw away all the XML and all the interfaces, because with Java E5 you could be linear. And surprisingly, 2 years ago, the client asked me again to review the architecture, and they told me it was really fun for them, because left and right, the departments try to use different technologies, and they focus just on business. So after the refactoring 10 years ago, there were just interfaces, just classes, and with an interface, because Java 5 still required an interface, but in Java 6 no more, and nothing else left. And 2 years ago, we just did some cleanup, removed all the interfaces, and you could actually deploy the old application on Quarkus. What I know is the other departments try to use Play with Scala, which I think is no more that interesting than Groovy, which is no more that hot. Some projects said, okay, Java is that. They use Ruby on Rails, which is also no more that hot. So I would say, if you stick with standards and wait a little bit, it might be actually good, right? And what I also like to do is, right, standards for me is like boring. I'm not really interested to relearn a new dependency injection. But for instance, if you are using Kafka streams, just use Kafka streams, because there is no standard. You could use standard dependency injection and then use Kafka streams, because it's not standardized, and it's completely fine. So thank you for watching, and I will just switch to the speaker room, where I will wait for the other 20 moderators and speakers and attendees, and you can just ask me questions all the time.